In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, let's break it down!
Unstoppable! Not on my watch.
Freeze! Don't move! Ever get that feeling of deja vu? Winky face.
Hello, you're listening to a Heroes Welcome, episode 33. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Wes. I'm here, as always, with Andrew. So how was your week in Overwatch?
It's been really good. I've been having a lot of fun. I've been getting in a lot of competitive play, so that's always been good. Having some good games. I've been on a little bit of a streak so far, so moving up pretty quickly. I'm liking how Season 3 is playing out so far. Lucky,
man. I haven't been able to play much of Overwatch at all. My work schedule for this week is crazy, but you know, after December, you know, the new year will come around and should be looking a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been having a ton of fun. I've been playing a lot of Soldier, even get some Genji in there, a little Mei on the side. But, yeah, definitely it's been all about Soldier for me lately. I've been doing really well, so
nice.
It's been a lot of fun.
A lot of tanks in your games?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of tanks, a lot of Meis. You know, usually at least 2 tanks or, you know, 1 and a Mei or something like that. But, yeah, definitely it is the day of the tanks right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. So, what are you thinking about rewards? Are you thinking you're going to be able to get a golden weapon? You're looking forward to maybe some new stuff in the future?
Right. So, yeah, we haven't talked about that. I actually did already buy my first golden weapon, which was fun. So, I got to buy a golden weapon. I bought Zarya's weapon because I have actually been playing recently a lot of Zarya as well. It's pretty funny because she's definitely probably one of the heroes I least liked when the game first released, but I've been having a lot of fun with her, been doing really well. She's such a great tank, she plays very aggressively, and she's a very good tank. So I bought her golden weapon, but I'm definitely hoping after this season I'll at least be pretty close to getting a second one. So.
Nice. Yeah, she has one of the more flashier, you know, huge weapons, so it's a good choice, I would say. Good choice, and she's good. She always has been good, and she probably will be for a while until, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things is, you know, I really like her, but also I was, you know, juggling between some of the others that I play a lot. You know, I play a lot of Soldier. I play a lot of Genji, too, and I really like him. But his golden weapon just not very good, so I definitely don't want to go with that. I was even looking at Tracer, but I really like the skin that I have on her. I don't really want the golden weapons with her, so I don't know. It seemed like the logical pick. You know, I didn't really like the golden gun on Soldier, so.
All right. So let's go ahead and just start with the news. So let's talk about the Christmas Comes Overwatch. So this is going to be coming pretty much right after this episode gets you know, published. So Tuesday, December 13th. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's coming up really quickly. You know, we've heard whispers of it in the past. I'm sure we were all, you know, expecting something. I mean, they did something for the summer games, and, you know, so we were definitely looking forward to something happening for the Christmas holiday. But, yeah, we just got confirmation. They kind of basically released information a little bit on Twitter. They haven't released a whole lot of, you know, any of the skins or anything that's coming like that. That will come when the patch releases this Tuesday. But, yeah, definitely they've been hinting at it for quite a while.
Yeah, so they're saying maybe, you know, about 3 weeks, you know, probably for the rest of the year, maybe a little bit in, maybe first week of January is kind of what they're shooting for. So do you have any predictions on skins maybe you want to see, sprays or emotes or anything?
Well, I mean, if we look back at a lot of the past stuff they've released, and they've been using a lot of past content, you know, they kind of tweeted out the Mercy, you know, witch, you know, skin quite a while before they released that during the Halloween holiday as well. So if we look back in the past, I know a lot of people are talking about, you know, the Torbjorn being Santa Torbjorn. So that's definitely one that I'm pretty sure we're looking for. And, you know, I'm interested to see what else they do. I know Torbjorn's kind of a cool one they can play off of, so that looks like a good one.
I mean, Mei has to be Mrs. Claus, right?
That's what I'm assuming. I don't know. I mean, it really depends. They can go a lot of different ways with it. Honestly, before the whole Santa Bjorn, I thought it would have been more like a Reinhardt. But, yeah, I mean, Torbjorn does have the nice beard and stuff like that, so it kind of makes sense to make him Santa. But, yeah, I mean, holidays are always cool. They always bring, you know, really cool sprays and emotes and skins and stuff like that. So definitely looking forward to see what they do. They always do such a great job with that kind of stuff. So
what character is most like an elf? Would that be Tracer? I can see her with an elf outfit.
Yeah, I could definitely see Tracer with the elf outfit. Be pretty cool. I mean, Tracer is just such a cool character all across the board. There's just so many different cool things you can do with her.
Yeah, so, yeah, something to definitely look forward to. It's always good to have new things in the game. And there has been some discussion on the forums about oh, the crates are kind of having a lot of repeats now, and people, obviously we have people like over level 1,000 by now. But anyways, introducing new stuff. Even though there will be special crates, but obviously you still get crates, or you still get items outside of the seasonal stuff.
The holiday,
yeah, you get a guarantee. At least one is going to be a new item, whether it be skin or spray or something. So we'll see. Hopefully,
right.
I'm expecting the same as the Halloween, where you could spend credits, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking at that.
But
yeah, I would assume. I mean, it seems to fall in line with what they've been doing, and that's kind of one of the things that they create such a great game that everybody's playing it so much. They can't put out content fast enough. So, yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have new content, new stuff, loot to pick up, and of course, everybody's been playing it so much. I know even me, I noticed quite a lot of repeats in my loot boxes as of lately, and I don't even play as much as some of the other people out there. I know we have players that are been playing religiously, left and right, but it's always good for new content. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on. Jeff Kaplan has been giving us a little bit more information, so let's talk about that. So people were asking about more rewards for the competitive play at some point, and to me it seems like one of those things where obviously eventually there will be new rewards or more things to spend your competitive points on, but it doesn't look like it's on a very short horizon for them from what we're hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, like you said, it's kind of a given. As things progress, we will see more things to spend our points on in competitive specifically. But, there was early on, they talked about that in specific, and they've been talking about a lot more about the rewards for competitive play being just the competitive play itself. And, I think for me especially, and for other people who are competitive at nature, it really is, the reward is just playing competitive play, having a place where we can play competitively, and we don't want to incentivize it too much. It's one of the things that Kaplan specifically mentioned, was not wanting to bring people in who don't really want to experience competitive play.
Yeah, he was saying he doesn't want the rewards for a competitive play to be too good or too cool. Some would make the argument that that already happened, right? The gold weapons, and there's a spray and I guess a player icon. So I mean, some people would argue that already exists to some extent, but obviously, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, especially in a game like this where there's not a crazy amount of rewards, it's kind of more geared.
Rewards, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of revolves around a competitive nature kind of at heart, being an FPS in that way. So, yeah, I think it has happened to a certain extent. I mean, I know as a person who, just did my placements not too long ago, and I ended up, they talked about specifically about this season starting a lot lower. And so there's definitely a lot of people there that are on the lower end of the tier, that's for sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's good to know that they're thinking about the potential problem of, we don't want people to only play competitive play because they want to get a certain item and don't actually want to be in that game mode. Like maybe they're better suited, or they would rather just be an arcade. So I mean, I definitely recognize what they're they're talking about. So he did throw out maybe season 5 we might see new rewards. I mean, that's a ways away. But
yeah, it's at least 2 seasons away we're looking at. So it's not on the short list of things to do. I mean, we're talking about, content and loot and all that is definitely important to a game like this, but there's just so many core things that they're still taking quite a big look at. And so I think we're still waiting to see a lot more things happen before we worry too much about these kind of issues.
But yeah, looking forward. I mean, do you have any ideas off the top of your head, some other rewards for competitive play? I mean, some things to spend your competitive points on? Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely some interesting things they can do. Nothing. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I'm not big on that kind of idea. I'm not big on loot in general. I mean, I'm one of those people that is just a competitive person, and I like having competitive matches.
I'd much rather.
For the most part. I mean, I think I just recently bought a Zarya skin, and I don't know. I'm not crazy about her skins. I think she's definitely one of the ones, along with Winston, that could definitely use some better skins. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'd much rather them work on competitive itself than worry about the loot. But
all right, so let's move on. Let's talk about saving and exporting highlights. Obviously, people have been asking for this before the game even launched, in beta, and we heard some promising things very on because they had those systems, capable in the engine, right? Because they have the highlights, they have the play of the game, so like that architecture already exists. So it's just kind of taking the time and building upon that to be able to like save and potentially export highlights. So
right, so it's one of those things where they definitely thought about it in the early goings of the game. Like you said, the architecture is kind of there already, and the groundwork has already been done. So it's definitely a feature that they will add eventually. But it's still no small feat. It's a lot of work still to get something like this up and going. If you look at a lot of other games, there are plenty of functions like saving and exporting highlights and that sort of thing, but they're not done really well as well. So it's one of the things we got to see how they kind of tackle it and how it comes out. But I'm definitely looking forward to this. I think it'll be a great addition to the game. We still are quite a ways off on it though, for sure.
Yeah, they definitely seem like they're saying it's a large feature, from a development standpoint, and it's probably going to take a lot of work, very difficult science problems, I'm sure. But definitely looking forward to it. And I think most of the people, especially on the PCs, obviously, are using the NVIDIA graphics. And a lot of people aren't aware, but most of those cards, all the recent ones, have shadow play features built in hardware already on the card. And I've used it. So if you really want to kind of export and like watch your gameplays and stuff, honestly, it doesn't affect your FPS. I haven't seen it works really good, so that's just an alternative until it gets implemented in the game.
Yeah, I just recently just upgraded my graphics card to I believe it's a 1060 GeForce.
Oh yeah, 1060. Yeah.
1060, I believe it was. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. I am one of those people that I like to take a look back at my previous games and see where things went good, where things went bad, that kind of thing. It's a good way to kind of objectively look back and see how you can improve your gameplay. And again, like you said, it doesn't harm your performance in any way during the game, really, at all. I'm still running over 100 to 200 frames every game, so it's definitely a great thing.
Yeah, and obviously if you're not running NVIDIA, there's other ways to do that with OBS and stuff, but a lot of times those are like a performance drag. But just throwing it out there, a lot of people don't know. Those NVIDIA cards, it's hardware built on the card. It's already there, and I've had multiple cards and I've used it, and it really doesn't change the performance whatsoever. So just something to consider. But so that's like one of those things where you take the extra step to like, okay, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna watch my replays and really try to min-max. I'm like, okay, what mistakes did I make and how can I improve on that? So.
And that's really the key. You find a lot of players, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen a lot, but there are a lot of players out there that could definitely benefit from looking back at their play. I'm one of those who it's not easy to recognize things maybe right off the bat in the middle of battle as far as what is going on and where you should be looking. A lot of people have that cone of focus, and they kind of miss a lot when things are going on. So it's definitely a thing that if you're not already doing, you can definitely benefit from looking back and seeing things from a different perspective.
Yeah, and if you know anything about pro teams and how they organize their daily structure, their schedules, a lot of time is dedicated to watching replays. So, the pros are doing that, there's some benefit, right?
Definitely. It's like any other sport or any kind of other hobby. It's definitely something that people can benefit. But so moving on though, again, another feature that we're looking at, spectating competitive matches, is another thing that they've talked about in the past.
Yeah, a lot of people are familiar with Dota. This works in Dota 2, where there's a large championship going on. A lot of people don't go to Twitch. They don't go to YouTube. They just open their Dota 2 client and they watch the game live in their client, which gives them full control over the map. They can look at what they want to look at and so on and so forth. So that just gives you an idea. If we could have that in Overwatch, that would be pretty amazing. Just think about launching the game and there's this tournament going on, and you can just click on it and just watch it live. That would be so good, right?
Right. And it's going to promote a lot of esports, because just in general, certain people, we have a tendency to gravitate towards, one or two players that we really like. So that again is, an easy way for we can kind of hop in and be like, oh, my favorite player, this person's playing, I can follow him around, and oh, he plays McCree, I really like McCree, let me see how he's doing this or what he's doing, what he's looking at. It's definitely going to promote people to be in the sphere of the game and just be enjoying everything to do with the game. So it's definitely one of those things that I look forward to. But there is obviously some policing concerns you have to be careful with a feature like this.
Yeah, I'm one of the rare people who enjoy playing supports, and one thing that just comes to mind for me is when I'm watching the tournaments, when I'm watching the casters and so on. Obviously, they're focusing a lot on the big playmakers, right? The McCrees, the 76s, and the players who play the fragging characters, right? So it'd be nice to just go and launch my game and spectate a tournament live, and I could check out what's Lucio doing here, like what's Ana doing, what are the strategic points, how are they playing the game. That to me would be pretty good, and obviously opens up a whole bunch of things on advertisements. Obviously, man, like the amount of people watching these tournaments would skyrocket, right? Because there's so many, we have over 20 million people playing the game. How many of them are active watching the tournaments,
Yeah, there's so many things that this brings up and would influence and definitely be helpful to. And like you said, specifically with the support heroes and like that. Again, they're not following the support characters. They're following the action most of the time, and so it's definitely one of those things where it benefits people who like playing supports or playing different characters and heroes. So yeah, I think it's a bonus any way you look at it. They just have to be careful, obviously, in the tournament settings, especially considering a lot of them are not LAN tournaments yet, at policing something like this and not having someone have an unfair advantage, being able to watch somebody else,
Yeah, there's easy solutions to that. You could put a little bit of a lag on it, I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to go about that. I don't think there'll be any problem with that, but it's one of those things where they have to make sure they actually do it right. So again, it's one of those things that's it's not going to be happening anytime soon, we don't think. They just said it's basically a matter of time and scheduling. It will eventually be in the game, but again, it's not on the short list.
I just don't want Blizzard to underestimate the effect that this feature would have, because you're talking about bringing millions of people who would never go to Twitch or go to YouTube gaming and watch live esports. You're talking about millions of people. And this isn't just PC, right? You have a bunch of people on the console. It would work perfectly fine there as well. And if they launch the game and they say, oh, what's this button do? It's like, this is new. Like, oh, watch live now. How many people are going to click on that and check it out for the first time? And obviously they're pushing the esports a lot. We're going to have the E-League next year. I think this definitely should be high priority, even before the saving, exporting highlights. But we could sit here and brainstorm a bunch of features we want all day, right? It's easy to shout that out. So.
Exactly. It's definitely. I totally agree. It is definitely a very important feature, and I definitely want to see it. Again, I think it's still much more important than the saving, exporting highlights. Again, the highlights is kind of more of a just a personal thing for players to be able to have. Like we said, there's already ways around and ways to kind of do that yourself. It's not required. But, it's definitely, I think the spectating is a much bigger idea. But I think that's enough for that. Let's move on into competitive.
Right, so unfortunately I haven't been, able to watch a ton of esports, and I'm kind of missing it already. But we have, pretty big news, right? So Rogue, Misfits, and Luminosity, they're trading teammates. Like half of their team rosters are all been mixed matched. What's going on?
And this is a huge thing for esports in general. But yeah, it's pretty big. So 3 teams: Rogue, Misfits, and Luminosity.
They're all EU
they're
teams,
pretty big
right?
teams. They're all EU teams. Yeah. They've been around for quite a while, since pretty much the beginning in some form or another. Rogue has been one of the top teams for a long time. Misfits, as of lately, has been crushing it. They've been doing a really good job. Luminosity as well, always kind of in the top tier, but they kind of mix and match a lot of their players. I think they're looking forward to a lot of the things going on with like E-League, and they're trying to stable out their rosters. So we see definitely some interesting. It's a 3-way trade, which is, I mean, it's a big deal in any sport or hobby to see a 3-way trade and happen so soon. But it's pretty big.
Yep, and we've been talking about roster changes and just complete, either dumping a team altogether, changing people out. I think these large organizations especially are preparing themselves for Overwatch League, right? So there's a lot of questions. We don't know. The timeline's not exact. We don't know when it starts. But, one thing we do know is you're going to want a solid roster, and that roster is going to want to be, consistent throughout the year, right? It's not going to look good on you as org if you have players that are canceling, ripping up their contracts. Makes you look very unprofessional and everything. So these
exactly.
teams, and you go ahead.
Yeah, and we don't want to get into the the nitty gritty of every little thing. I mean, we'll definitely have this linked in the show notes, and you can check it out and you can see exactly what the trades were. There's a lot of stuff that goes along with this, but just one thing to note specifically is that a lot of these players again have been there since the beginning, and they've played with other players, and I think a lot of this kind of came out of the whole Overwatch tournament at BlizzCon, which was kind of cool because they got to mix up the teams a little bit already. So may have spiked something in a lot of people's minds about getting those roster changes done now before the E-League hits. But a lot of these players have played together, and so they're kind of swapping out rosters and getting groups of people back together who've played already. So like Unco and Soon now on Rogue team, they have been playing together for quite some time in other games as well, and so they're back together now. A lot of other players. So I think definitely Misfits is probably the one that's benefiting, I think, the most from this trade deal, but definitely some interesting stuff going on, a lot of trading going on, and it's definitely, I think, we're going to look to see a lot more of these in the future.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll have a link for all the info if you're interested, but just as a shout out, we've already covered the teams, but it's just some familiar players people probably know pretty well. We're talking about Tavik, Reinforce, Crew. I mean, these are pretty big players, Skipjack. I mean, these are all change rosters. So it just gives you a taste. I mean, there's a little bit more, but definitely check that out if you are more interested.
Right. So in Misfits, again, they're trading out and getting 4 different different players. So, I mean, Nevix and Zebasai, kind of the team leads have been there and they're sticking around. But they got 4 new players on their team, Tavik, Reinforce, and Zabe and Manitin. Again, people who've played together in the past, and I definitely think Misfits is the one you want to look at in this situation because I think they're going to be so much stronger because of this trade.
Yeah, and time will tell, and we will obviously be covering very closely the the competitive scene. And right now, it's the end of the year, and the league looming above us. So right now is the time to be doing the roster changes, and but there is some leagues going on. So let's talk about some of them. So let's talk about the Realm Sports League Winter Series. There's a $10,000 prize pool on the line. Group stages, 36 different teams, and this is both NA and EU. What else do we know about it?
Right, so 20 of those teams are going to be from the NA and 16 are from the EU. So they start out in the group stages, and then we'll move on to the playoffs. We'll be down to 20 teams, and then the NA and EU winners out of those teams will then advance to the grand finals, which will be a best of 5. So definitely looking forward to that. $10,000 prize pool. We're looking at some really good top-notch teams playing. We got Gale Force, Liquid, Immortals on the NA. We got Dignitas, Reunited, and NIP, of course. All great teams, and it looks to be a pretty stacked roster of teams. So looking forward to that.
Right, and do we have any time frame reference on that one?
We don't have a time frame reference yet on that one. We will definitely keep you up to date on that as far as that we're going. I know the group stages are currently going on, but I don't believe any of those are available to watch as of now, but definitely during the playoffs and of course the grand finals, I'm sure we will be looking forward to that. So we'll keep you up to date and we'll let you know.
All right. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that grand final and seeing, North America is going to be able to pull off the win, or how much impact North America makes. But, we have a little bit more teams, so maybe that helps, but maybe not. But anyways, let's talk about the winter premiere, right? So we're talking about $100,000 prize pool. Pretty big prize pool, should be attractive to all the big players, right?
Right, yeah, this is really the big one, the winter premiere, $100,000 prize pool, and the qualifiers are, December 10th through the 13th, so they're currently going on right now. I believe, qualifier 1 is already done, 2 is underway at the moment. So out of the 4 qualifiers that will be going on, it is a points-based system. Points are, placed for the team's placement in those qualifiers, and the top 8 of those points will move on to the group stages, which the group stages will be in December 26th through January 11th, so quite a big span of time for the group stages. So 2 group stages, number 1 will be 8 teams, and number 2 will be 6 teams, and 6 and 4, so 10 teams out of there will advance to the playoffs, and that will be 4 teams, and that is the land single elimination tournament, so that's definitely what we're looking forward to. Any land tournament's always a great addition.
Yeah, I mean, big prize pool. Yeah, it's going to be spending quite an amount of time, so we'll be covering it, I'm sure, 3, 4, 5 more episodes in the future here. But yeah, so pretty much, the day after Christmas and, well into January, group stages will be going on, and looking forward to the playoffs there. Do you know where they're having it?
We don't know yet where they're having it, but I'm sure we'll get that information pretty shortly here, long before the playoffs take place.
All right, yeah. So, pretty good stuff. Looking forward. I mean, it's looking pretty good for Overwatch. I mean, esports. I must say. So, I'm looking for some big news.
I mean,
hopefully we learn some new stuff.
Definitely. I mean, it's one of those things where, the esports is going really strong. We're always having new tournaments and, a lot of smaller tournaments as well. There's plenty out there that we love to highlight, smaller tournaments and things like that. But yeah, definitely. We're in a little bit of a weirder phase. It is, coming on to, Christmas and the holidays. And so, Blizzard's kind of a lot quieter as of now until the first of the year. Things will quiet down, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, the competitive has never been better.
Some inside information. This is the time of the year at Blizzard where they vacation a lot. I know a lot of their employees they go to Vegas, company paid for expenses. So, yeah, right now a lot of them are vacationing. But I mean, it's good for them. They need some time to rest, and I'm sure they'll be, back to work early in the year and giving us great content.
Right, exactly. So, again, it's, it'll be a little bit quieter around the holiday season, of course, as to be expected. But, the competitive season is still going on. People are still out there putting together tournaments, and we will definitely keep you up to date with that. But before we end the show, we want to kind of always pick something and leave you guys with a little something. So we have a little bit of a strategy segment, just talking about map bans, which is something that we've heard a little bit about as of recently. A lot of chatter going on about, map bans and whether they are, to be expected in the future. What do you think about map bans?
Yeah, so when I think about map bans, there's 2 primary different things I'm thinking of, right? I'm thinking of it in a, competitive, like a tournament, sense, right? So we've been seeing map bans since day 1. Right, then you also have the map bans that are in game, for everyone else to play, pretty much allowing them to, avoid the maps they don't want to be on. So, in the competitive scene, it's pretty much a must-have map ban, right? So the players get to pick, the most balanced maps, and obviously there's a lot of strategy in that, right? So they're picking, what maps do we have really solid, win rates on, which ones have proven to be good and bad. So they kind of play their strengths, obviously, and ban the maps, and obviously depends on the team they're going up against. People are familiar with that in other games as well, banning maps. But I think if they can implement that in the game, that would be great, in the competitive scene. But I think more specifically, you want to talk more about map bans in the context of the average everyday player, right?
Exactly. I mean, again, like you said, we've been seeing map bans in the, competitive, tournament scene for, since day 1. And it's one of those things that has kind of evolved and gotten better over time. We see now, major tournament organizers are actually using, tools to automate the ban process and make it much better. But yeah, it's definitely, the, insertion of this idea into competitive as the game evolves.
Yeah, so I like the idea of map bans. I'm not sure exactly the best way of going about it. Obviously, I've seen very, very poor examples on games like Call of Duty. I mean, I don't really play those games, but I've seen it. It's like a game would end and be like, here's 2 choices. Which one would you like? Or maybe a random one. So, I mean, there's definitely right ways and wrong ways of doing it, right? But I have faith in Blizzard. I think they could implement a nice system. And obviously, they talked about like server lists and stuff like that as well, so that's kind of a way to choose the map you're gonna play on, and maybe the specific rule set and things like that. But I mean, just within the competitive context or maybe quick play and stuff, I think it would be nice. But I mean, do you have any ideas off the top of your head, like good, strong ways to implement that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that they could do it, and I'm leaning on Blizzard for this because, of course, they're always much better at it than we can kind of think of things. They have the information at their fingertips to kind of figure this out. But yeah, again, there's so many ways. We've seen a lot of bad ways to do it, but I can just think of other games in Blizzard like Heroes of the Storm. They have their drafting for their heroes and such, and things like that, and they do an amazing job at that. And I definitely look forward to seeing them do something like that with the map bans in Overwatch. It's something I think the game could definitely benefit from.
Yeah. Yeah, Heroes also has like a map pool, right? So for a certain amount of time, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, only these maps are in the pool. Then that changes. We might get to a point where some maps just get retired altogether, or maybe just retired from competitive, and maybe it still exists, in custom games and all that, obviously. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't given it much thought, but it's just something Blizzard should think about. They get paid to do that stuff, right?
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely stopgaps. Having the what do you want to call them? The packs of maps, the different on and off sets of maps that are available at the time. It's definitely kind of like a stopgap. It works pretty well in Heroes because they have a few maps in there, a little bit more than Overwatch does at this point. Kind of much like we were talking about with the heroes list in Overwatch as well. But
yeah, I mean,
again,
it must be
I'm
getting
not
pretty
crazy.
close, though, to be honest. Overwatch is getting pretty close. We have a lot of maps. Like you could go weeks without. I mean, it depends on how much you play, but you could play like 10, 20 games and not get your favorite map. Like that, is possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting close to there, but I'm not sure how I like the whole, roster of maps, only certain ones being available, of course, because then, you have a favorite map and then you go weeks without playing it. So I'm not crazy about that idea. But I mean, in a tournament setting, we're already seeing, ways of drafting. Basically, they knock out one by one, a coin is flipped, one team starts picking and they pick out the maps that they don't want to play at until they're left with, a certain amount of maps to play all the games out, the 3 or 5, whatever it is. Then they just start from there. So I think that's more along the lines of what we would like to see as opposed to just, set rosters of maps.
Okay, so you're thinking maybe there's 12 people in the game, you just had the loading screen, and now you're, one person, or maybe there's a leader, or maybe it's just,
yeah,
one
you have like a
individual,
team
ban,
captain
ban.
based on probably ranking or whatnot, and they take, team captain, and then they basically talk to the group, and then they will vote against a map.
Then you're going to have people complaining about, it takes too much time to do a competitive game, all this extra
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, that's definitely one of the side effects is, I'm definitely one of those people that likes the fact that Overwatch games are really short. It's one of the reasons why, Heroes really isn't kind of my cup of tea is because it takes quite a while.
To be honest.
Yeah, it's short for, a MOBA, definitely. But, yeah, I definitely like Overwatch's games being shorter, and I don't want to lengthen them. But at the same time, I think especially as we get into more and more maps, I think we'll benefit from having a map ban system.
All right, yeah, so if any more information comes out, we'll be sure to talk about and discuss it. But I think, map bans, something to look on the horizon. Obviously, we talked about a lot of future features. I mean, I think, 2017 will be, make Overwatch great again.
Yeah, so definitely always things we can think about. I'm sure there's plenty of lists of things that we would love Blizzard to do and implement in the game. I'm sure they have their own list, and hopefully, Christmas brings good things for Overwatch. I'm looking forward to it, and to 2017, definitely looking forward to what they scoop out for Overwatch.
Yeah,
but
I don't mean to imply that Overwatch was ever bad. I was just kidding.
No, yeah, definitely. Only getting better, I think, with time. New maps. We're waiting for Oasis. I got a chance to play that. I don't know if you've yet got a chance to play Oasis.
Man, everyone going to PTR and checked it out. It's pretty good. Yeah,
it's really fun. I had a ton of fun. Definitely. Get a look at Hanzo and Genji, Tracer. It's really fun. There's a lot of map to cover in those levels, and a lot of verticality. Genji is so much fun on that level. Even Lucio is a lot of fun too. So. Definitely looking forward to that. Can't wait for Oasis. And I think that's going to do it for this show. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks for everyone for listening. Thanks to all the people who have reached out to us, whether it be email or on Twitter. We love to hear from you. We always reply back to everyone that reaches out to us, and that information is always going to be available to you, whether it be in the description or the show notes, depending on however you're listening to this. But you could contact us. Our email is aheroeswelcomepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at 2 Moon Studios. This show is obviously brought to you by 2 Moon Studios. And again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Till next time.
Till next time.